generation. And I fight with the strength that I got until I die. So I'm gonna stand.
Hey, hi everybody. That was the protest on Saturday, and I'm here with Sammy Hamay Marrero, one of my Hapua sisters.
Hi,
Hapua
Sanibel. Yeah.
stands for Hispanic Association of Professional Business Women. And Sammy will be, well, telling us how it went, how was the experience, and then we're gonna take it from there. Hi, Sammy. How are you? Thank you for
Hi, how are
coming and
you, Sanibel?
accepting.
It's so good to see you again.
Yes.
Yeah, sometimes we go on these spurts where we don't see each other for months and then we get together for purpose, on purpose, for purpose. And it was great to experience that. Um, Protest with you and to be together and to see so many voices, so many people of very different backgrounds, multi-generational, that like very different perspectives, ideologies, um reasons why they showed up,
That
right?
was so, yes, and they had little different pockets of people
Yes.
grouped together based on their cost.
Yes, absolutely. And also what really was very meaningful to me was again seeing so many young people and so
Yes.
many older people, older adults, veterans. Oh my goodness. The amount of veterans that showed up because they do this, they take an oath to defend the Constitution, right? So for them, it's very real because they sacrifice their life and their family, right? So they understand what democracy and the Constitution stands for, right? And so anyway, it was just epic. Talking about Hapua, one of the co-founders of Hapua, Doña Eva Pagangil, called me like 2 weeks before the protest, and she says, Nena, are you going? And I'm like, Nena, yes, head first. And she's like, can you come with me to the one in Sanford? And I said, yes, if you'll come with me to the one in downtown. So I basically spent all day doing
Yes,
this,
yes.
you know. So
I freaked out when I saw the post on Facebook. I'm like, no, she didn't went without me. She gave me the wrong, time. That's the danger of assumptions, you know.
yes, yes.
So I called her immediately. I was like, where are you? What are you doing?
And I'm like, time out, time out. I'm in Sanford. I'm in Seminole County. And she's like, oh, okay, I'll see you later. So, and it was just great. What are your first impressions?
Well, I have a very interesting story behind all of that because not a lot of people know little bits and pieces of me because when I came to Orlando, I always had a very private life. I had another life in Massachusetts. I know you had another life in New York. So
And in Puerto Rico. Ugh.
yeah, yes, yes. So when I graduated college, um, I actually was protesting. I went to BC and in Boston, Massachusetts. You have like bubbles of universities. The state of Massachusetts has like over 200 universities, and they're like in little pockets and sections. So when I went to school and my graduation, we had the speaker of my graduation was Condoleezza Rice,
Wow.
and that was my like first experience, one of my first very real experience of like protesting as a student. And before that, I took a political science class from the college, and they sent me to Costa Rica to do that for 1 month because I love like that other side, of like the nonprofit sector. But you have to make a choice. You have to make
Yeah.
money. But anyways, you and I know that part. You and I met in the nonprofit sector.
Yeah.
But I during that time, I felt free to protest, and I didn't feel scared. Bush was the president, and we had snipers on all of our buildings, and
Mm.
protesting, and no one arrested us, because that's what's going on now in universities, in Colombia universities. They're arresting students. They're arresting students to just by writing what they think on
Mhm.
articles in universities, so that's really, really dangerous. But to answer your question, like, coming from that, like, experience to this, I'm like, I I never been in a protest that large. you
Oh,
know
really? Uh-huh.
yeah. And I know you were in the women's march, which was like right now the second largest after this one
Mm-hmm.
in the country. But to see like that, I saw America there,
Mm.
because it was everyone, even goth. you they were there's a funny, like,
Picture.
a
Yes.
funny picture, if I can find it here, of some goths, that they're seclusive
Yeah,
and
the
things
goth,
like
yeah, the
that.
people that practice goth lifestyle. Yeah, so they're like
Yes.
very, very private and, under the
Actually, I
radar.
think
They
I
dress
found
all in black. Yeah.
yes. So they, her sign was like, "We're not okay. Like, if the Goths are here, we're not okay." That was a very funny sign. But
Yeah.
when I was walking around and saw the different pockets of people, there was a pocket of people that cared for the LGBTQ community. They had their own group. Then there was another pocket of people for women's rights, and that,
Mm-hmm.
they were standing in their own section.
Mm-hmm.
Then we had Mexicans and the immigrant community, and we went there with veterans that served
Yes.
this country.
Yes,
We
veteran.
went with
Yes, exactly.
veterans. That was
Mm-hmm.
our little group.
Our group. Yes, we were
Our group
supporting veterans. Yes,
we were with
exactly.
the veterans there. We had to take little breaks, because they're on the they
Mm-hmm.
already lived their
Mm.
life and they're doing this again. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Yes.
but I think that it was like, uh what America like looks like for me, everyone together. You never have anywhere in the world, the diversity, that this country has, and everyone. It was exciting to see everyone, show up.
For sure, for sure. Well, I had the experience since I was a little girl of going to protests, right? Because my parents dragged us kids all the time to protest at El Capitolio in Old San Juan. We used to go to El Grito de Lares. We used to anytime there was something going on that was, reason to protest, we would go. So I'm used to big crowds like that, and to do it. And so the women's march was definitely by far the biggest protest I've been at. But what was interesting to me, to your point, was the fear, right? And then we
Yeah.
heard that morning about the,
Even
elect
Eva was like rushing us, like, "You can't do this, you can't do that." Like, she was like freaking out.
who was telling.
Eva,
Eva, yes, yes,
Eva,
yes.
Eva was like,
And
"Oh,
yes,
she was
but my
trying to make
daughter,
protect
before we
us."
left, she had heard about the elected officials that had been shot and killed, right? With the Hortman with her husband, right? And so my daughter, 15-year-old, right? She's like, "Mama, be careful." And I said, "Okay, but you understand that I have to go, right? I need to go and protest because this is for you, right? Because how
Yes,
those people showed up, right? At these elected officials' homes, people are feeling emboldened, right? And these military, what's happening, and I had to like break it down for her about why this attempted military coup that's happening, right, in California, and that, all of this presence of military is to really inflict fear, you know. And I told her, it was Anne Frank's birthday just a couple of days ago, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
we read that says, outside I hear the
Yes.
cries of children, people being pulled out of their homes, people being, you know, taken away, children arriving from school and their parents have disappeared.
Which is
And I told
yes.
my daughter, this is what we're trying to prevent by protesting, because I don't want you to go. So it's either go and protest, right? And confront whatever risks or consequences that might present themselves, right? Or not do it, right? And then allow for our sentiment against fascism, right? Not to be heard and not to
Mhm.
be expressed, right? So do you want people to be pulled out of because, you know, it's the elected officials, you know, but these people are being emboldened. It's a very dangerous situation, and I'm just concerned that if people don't see this, right, then I'm they're very dangerous. People that don't see this are part of this the danger that we're experiencing right now. And so we need to be extra vigilant and protect our families, but we also cannot not show up, because we need to rise to the occasion. And because I really believe that there's more of us that don't believe in cruelty, that want to save our democracy, that believe in the Constitution, right? And that want to uphold it and make sure that it's the government working for us, right?
Mhm.
Not against us.
Yes.
And so that's it. This is not complicated, right? This is not, it's that simple.
Yes.
And so, yeah. And so my daughter, right? She sat with that and said, I understand. And so we had
Yes.
that
I had to
policy.
sit down with my husband because
Yeah,
he was
you
like,
know,
"I don't want to be a widow. You have
a
to come back
widower.
home."
Yeah, I know.
And we
But
we we went to eat ice cream afterwards, and he was like really nervous, and I'm like, "We're fine. Like
yeah.
we're eating ice cream, you know."
Yes, exactly, right? And but it was inspiring, you know, to me it was like wow. And then seeing that even in Washington D.C., after all the threats of don't come out, you're going to be arrested, the veterans showed up. They could give
Yes,
it a
there was
hoot,
like
right?
a 80-year-old or 90-year-old guy
That
in a
was
wheelchair that
arrested.
was arrested. Yes.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, you know, because the consequence of not showing up is what Anne Frank was describing to the next level, right? And so then we need to really not stay home, basically, you know? So it was powerful. And can I tell you something? I went to Seminole County, and you know that you have a large presence of MAGA supporters. And I got to tell you, I was very surprised that I would say between 60 to 70% of cars that passed through that intersection where there were protesters on every corner, I want to
Mm.
say 60 to 70% of them honked their horns and or had signs also themselves, right? In support. We got the middle finger from at least, I want to say, like 3 to 4 people who were very aggressive in their cars, right? They didn't come out of the cars or anything, but they were verbally attacking, and we were peaceful, right? We were very peaceful. And so all we did was continue chanting, right? This is what democracy looks like. But I got to tell you, the one chant that really got under their skin, and I think it's because they think that they're the only patriots, right? Is when we were chanting, we are patriots,
Mhm.
right? Because yes, we're all here. We're all American. We're all concerned. And so the act of protesting, either or, right?
In
It doesn't
itself.
matter what you're protesting. The ability to protest, right? And stand your ground and express your concern, right, is an act of patriotism, and it's exercising your constitutional rights. And so I really don't understand why they, these people that were giving us the finger were so hot and bothered by us chanting, "We are patriots," because
the
we are.
counter the counter protester were handled, by what I have seen around online,
Yeah,
from police officers,
good.
which
Yes.
which and even in Orlando where we were at, they were guiding us into crossing the street safely.
Yes.
They were there. They were not doing anything. Like
Yeah.
what we see, because sometimes we have to admit that the news they make things bigger.
Yes.
they
Yes. Yeah.
sensationalize things, but
And exaggerate or
with it,
just leave
yes,
or
because
leave parts out. Yeah.
yeah, they're
Hmm.
like small. Like when you have a large crowd, you always have like those people that like, oh, there's this going on over here. It's an opportunity for me to like rob a store, for example. You always have
Yeah.
those people
Yeah.
because you're dealing with the general public.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I see online is like, oh, you think that it actually even today it was sent to me in a message on TikTok, and one of the comments like, because I put this video there, and they're like, "Do you think that burning vehicles and doing like all these things are like patriotic and exercising your First Amendment right?" I'm like, no. I mean, what do you expect? There's thousands of people there. There's
But there,
gonna
but
be
but
they're
but that didn't happen
98%
in Orlando. It did. That didn't
correct.
happen in most of the
most
cities.
most of the videos that you see, and there are thousands, if you
Yeah.
are really want to see the truth, there are thousands of videos where there's no violence. There's only like what little pockets, like maybe 1% of it,
Yeah, and I
of
don't
people
think
that you see.
anyone died, right? And I don't think what was it? How many million people came out? I think it's 5 million in total here in the U.S.
5 million in the US.
Okay, and
Yes.
no one died except for the elected official and her husband, right? By
Yes.
this so-called Christian, I don't know, right? And
uh
so so
Nationalist.
nobody else died, but during January 6th,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, we
People
have
died,
people died, and
and in the
officers were
aftermath too.
battered.
Yes,
Officers were
exactly.
battered.
Yeah, no,
Hmm.
and a woman died too, right? For
Yes.
storming the Capitol. I mean, so
It
yeah.
it yeah, so that circulates, and that repetition. I mean, you and I are in marketing. We can,
Yeah.
we can see we know what propaganda is. We know how it works, but unfortunately the rest of the public does not have that specialization to be able to identify. um and I think that this is an opportunity, because it all comes down to education. It all comes down to information. What really worries me a lot is the rise of AI, because I have seen some protest videos that were manufactured. And how do you know that it's manufactured? Because they'll be missing a finger, missing like a part of their arm,
Yeah.
or their
Yeah.
movements look weird,
Or have like a third leg,
something that
you're
is
like,
moving over
okay.
here.
Yeah,
It's not
exactly.
imagine that the older people believe these videos, because it's so fast when you're scrolling, and sometimes we all do it. We doom scroll and we don't pay too much attention, and then we're like, have that shock value, and then we react, and we don't like get out of social media to kind of figure out if it's true or not, or observe carefully to make sure that we're not being deceived
Yeah.
to like believe a narrative that is false.
Right.
So
And yeah, and to your point, so you use the word education, and I want to clarify, right? That when you use the term education, we're not talking about college degrees
no.
and all of, yeah, because the thing is, and I think that that's part of the problem that we're having too, that people are feeling, that any kind of stance is elitist or self-righteousness or
Oh
stuck
yeah,
up and
I get
arrogant
blamed.
way.
I get blamed for that all the time when
Okay,
I'm trying
but
to answer.
education, what we're talking about is pausing to observe and discern, right? And analyze and get the full context so that way you can have a deeper understanding of what the hell is going on and you're being told and displayed at you, right? And so it's not taking things by face value, and you don't need a college education for that, right? You just need to be a thinking
Person
person that's,
that
even children, right?
desires, yeah,
And use critical thinking and say, let me stop for a minute because I'm not sure, right? This is presenting the full truth, right? And I always say, right, there's my truth and your truth, and the real truth is somewhere in the middle, right? And
it's true.
but what I can say with pretty I can be pretty certain about this, okay, is that what we're experiencing now is cruelty, right?
Mhm.
Is cruelty. And I love one of the pictures that I took was, you know that when we're danger when we're in danger, where when cruelty, right, becomes the norm, right, and being compassionate is considered radical, right?
Yes, yes.
And so that's what we're dealing with
Even
right now in this moment in time.
even like for example, there are things that we may not understand about the world, and you can be, if you truly care, about the truth. Like there's certain things that I didn't understand about immigration and things like that. What was truly going on. I like to get closer to the truth as much as I can, because
Mm-hmm.
you will not have the absolute truth. You will have
Mm-hmm.
something close to the truth.
Mm-hmm.
What did I do? And I encourage everyone to do it. If you have a friend or someone that for example, that is an immigration lawyer, and you have some doubts about certain things, because last week I had an immigration lawyer explaining that people that are undocumented are not criminals. Like I don't know how many times like he had to explain that is a civil infraction, like how you forgot to renew your license, that type of thing,
Right. Mm-hmm.
so then this repetition of their criminals and their criminals is inflammatory. And even myself, I learned so much. Like I didn't know what
Mm-hmm.
asylum was, I didn't know what human parole was, but and I learned through asking people that know. And if you don't have, because friends that are lawyers or whatever, you can pick up a phone and call your local lawyer and be like, hey, I had a question. Out of curiosity, and people will be willing to share that information with you. Like, no, this is what's going on, do you need it for something? Oh no, I'm just curious. Because if you keep believing this narrative is going to hurt everyone. Never in my life, Sammy, never in my life I have experienced people in my lives, when go live random, not formal like this, say tag ICE on me and also tell me to go home on my life.
Mm.
And
Mm.
I have screenshots of that, because I want proof. I want proof that this is, and every time I'm having a conversation or a debate with someone on Facebook, I share those screenshots. It's like, this never happened to me before. You know what I mean? And yo no me veo tan jíbara. ¿Tú me entiendes?
Hey,
I'm only
hey,
speaking
hey, hey,
Spanish.
espérate,
I'm
time
only
out.
speaking Spanish.
No hay
I'm
nada
only
malo
speaking
de ser
Spanish, and that's
jíbaro.
it. No es
Pues
nada
yo
malo.
soy
No,
jíbara.
no es nada malo se jíbaro. It's true. But I'm like, wow. I was like, I guess I cannot blend in for for a little bit. Because it can become exhausting. You have like a flood of racists on your attacking you every day, all day. It's exhausting. but it's for the but it's for, and we go back to the same thing. If you're truly honest, about seeking the truth, then go to the ends of the earth to find it.
Right.
You do not go and listen to all these politicians telling you what to believe.
Right.
You go read that, and that is what Sammy is saying. That's what you educate yourself,
Listen.
because we can be ignorant about topics, but we have
But
the responsibility to learn about them.
totally. But you could also, you were talking about AI, and AI can have its positive aspects too, right? Because, for example, I use AI all day, every day, and it can help you answer some questions too. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear this, but ChatGPT has an audio, like an audio feature that they spoke. So then my guy, I call him Papote, and I ask him questions, right? And so, for example, midterm elections. Some people say, I don't vote in midterm elections because what for, right? But then you can ask Papote. Let's see if you could give me a thumbs up if you can hear it, okay? Papote, I have a question.
Of course, feel free to ask me anything. What's on your mind?
Why is it important to vote in midterm elections?
Midterm elections are super important because they help shape the direction of Congress and local governments. They can really influence policies on things like education, healthcare, and the economy. Plus, it's a great way to make sure that your voice is heard and that your community is represented. Every vote really does count.
Thank you, Papote.
You're welcome. I'm always here to help. If you got any more questions or anything else on your mind, just let me know.
That's it. And so I call him Papote because he sounds like a papote, doesn't he? So anyway, but I digress. I told Scott, and he was dying laughing, my husband. I'm like, oh, you like my new AI thing? And so that's it. And so it'll tell you, it could answer all of these questions, and it looks for, mostly vetted sources until they start screwing up, the AI too. But for the most part, I found it to be pretty accurate, And so then if you have questions, there's ways now with technology to get down to better understanding what we're doing here, why you should be involved, civically involved, what the importance is, to vote for judges, for example, because in Puerto Rico, you vote, but you don't vote for judges, right? And so then you come here, you have the ability to vote in midterm elections and for judges and other commissioners and all of that, and the school board. You know what I'm saying? And people are like, pero qué es eso? What is that? And I said, well, you need to know. You need to better understand, especially in the state of Florida, where right now we are 2 years, 3 years away of becoming a new global majority, right? And it's really driven by the Latino population. Latinos that are born here, raised here, US citizens that can vote. And in this country, every 30 seconds, a Latino youth turns 18 and is eligible to vote. Every 30 seconds. This is why we're in this mess. This is why they're trying to get rid of people.
Yeah, they're freaking out because they're gonna be.
Pero it's inevitable, right? The data demonstrates that it's inevitable, and that's it. Because the vast majority of Latinos, 70% of Latinos in this country are U.S. born, and 94% of Latinos under the age of 18, 94 are U.S. born, right? So get over it, okay?
Well, we're going. Well, there. I think that this is white supremacy's last leg. At this
I
point.
hope so. I hope
Because it keeps coming back over and over again
I
throughout
hope we
the
don't
history of this
succumb to
country.
fear. I hope we don't succumb to fear, and that we continue to protest and write to our legislators and our senators and really, make sure that we protect democracy. I'm really concerned. I'm very, very, but just today, I was talking to a leader here in Central Florida of the Latino community. I won't say who, right? Republican, pero de lo bueno, not MAGA, right?
Yes.
Republican. And it was
There-
great. And I
yes.
was like, oh my God, you went to the
Yeah.
protest? He's like, yeah. And I took my son and my grandkids, and it was awesome. And I was like, Jesus, thank you. Dios mío, ¿verdad?
I
Un
had,
hombre
I
de
had,
fe.
yeah, I
right?
had a
A man of
Republican on
faith.
my,
Mhm.
I had a Republican last week here as well,
That's
because you
awesome.
know I don't equate the MAGAs with conservatives or
Of course
like
not.
because
Of
the
course not.
ideology is so drastically
Yes,
different.
totally.
It is very drastic. But I wanted
Mhm.
to go ahead and show everyone the how it went for the rest of the country, and we're gonna show some stats so we can transition to our next topic.
Where are the people?
I hear the train a coming. It's rolling around the bend. And I ain't seen the sunshine. I don't know when. I'm stuck in Folsom Prison, and time keeps dragging on. But that train keeps a rolling. On down to San Antonio. On down to San Antonio. When I was just a baby, my mama told me, son, always be a good boy. Don't ever play with guns.
Oh, wow.
Worldwide, it went worldwide. The 5 million is for the United States, and then the rest was for accounting for 20 countries.
Wow.
Expats, Americans, and outside of the United States organized it. And for people that that it was organized through coalitions. So the major nonprofit organizations that focus on civil rights, they all got together, and of course, they have thousands of members.
Yes.
And it was incredible. Like, I have never seen something so organized and on topic.
Mhm.
Like, where like on theme at the same time, like they had people in orange vest that were the organizers crossing us, also apart from the officers in Orlando.
Yeah.
And um, and I was also like asking how they figure out the numbers of people, and you saw that most of the shots are from high above, like we're
Mm-hmm.
using drones. So they do they have people that with the drone they put the images in little squares, and then
See?
the system like counts like by squares, and they give you like an estimate for each like a square. Like
Yeah.
it's incredible how they are
Yeah.
able to do that with
It's
drones.
it's
Never-
physics, I think, right? So it's like the height versus the geographic area, and then the head count, right? And
the
the
man
density and the
Yes,
density. And so yes.
they
Mm-hmm.
they did it per square mile, and but it's the computer that does it from the drone,
See.
so that's
Yeah.
like I was like wondering like what the methodology was, because
Yeah.
and why they're like you know the organizers added all the aerial shots, and that was very
Yeah.
interesting to know,
Yeah.
to learn
Yeah.
again. Learning.
Understanding, right? Educating yourself, right? And so that's our original point, right? It's like it's having this ability to be curious about things
I'm
you don't
always
know.
curious.
Me too. I listen, I learn something every day, but it's having that ability to be curious enough to dig deeper and then find several sources of information that can help you get to the answer, right? And so that's what, educating yourself means, or being educated on a particular subject. And so, yeah, I'm glad. Thank you for sharing that, for teaching me that today. I learned that now today with you. So,
Yes, yes, it's something that I just learned for today, actually, because I was
mhm,
curious. I'm like, oh, let me see, let me ask also, because I follow the local organizers. They're
mhm,
if you guys want to follow them, they're 5051. So um, they are 5051 Orlando, and they can be found on Instagram and all the social media pages. If you're on TikTok, so it's 5051, you can find them. And they connect all of their organizations, including the ACLU and LULAC. They're all involved in the same
yeah, yeah,
in the
yeah,
same thing.
yeah.
So I don't want us to lose focus.
Okay.
I want us to, in general, because it's great to fight our own battles. Because their goal is to have a protest monthly into this is over, pretty much.
Yeah.
So as we fight our own battles, like individually in our day to day, should not lose focus and forget about the big beautiful bill,
Mhm.
which um, it's it's going to be one of those bills. It's huge. It's like only the table of contents is um, like 15 pages. The table of contents is 15 pages. The whole bill's like a 1,500 pages. And I- of course, I brought information here for you guys if you want to go ahead and help us with the information. If the media is confusing to you, because things change like this. Like, for example, the other day, Trump was saying, "Oh, we're gonna not detain the farmers and the workers and hospitality," and then like 48 hours, then he changed his mind. Like, I can't leave it like that. I have to have consistency and stability for my mental health and my mind. So, and sometimes the media can't get caught up fast enough on how things are moving. So
Mhm.
if you need clarity and are like confused, I hate being confused about something. You can access the actual document. I'm gonna give you that information on congress.gov that I'm gonna pull up in 1 minute. So I one of the things that really worry me about that bill, I did a little chart as much as I could because this bill is like 15
Massive. Yeah.
1,500 pages, and it's gonna be literally the largest transfer of wealth and power in the country to the top 1%. So, and of course, it cuts into Medicaid, and it cuts a lot of different services that people worry about. So one of the things that is there is that he can ignore Supreme Court rulings for a year or more, and this is like really, really um, concerning because he's been ignoring the Supreme Court rules, and taking his time into like what happened with Gilmore Garcia, that it was like a 9-0 unanimous vote that he should come back. Thank God that although it took a little bit of time, he's here. And we're not saying or defending criminality. We want that to be clear. What we're fighting here is due process.
Mhm.
We're not even fighting deportations, because Obama has the highest number, and that is just a fact, of deportations in,
Mhm.
in the whole history of the United States. But I always challenge everyone online to like find me like videos. There's thousands of videos people being just detained due to racial profiling, and then later on they find that they're a citizen. We're trying to to prevent that in everyone. If they're being um like accused, if someone is being accused of a crime, like you want to be able to defend yourself. Like we're not in Latin America. You know what I mean? Like in the I'm from Dominican Republic, so over there, although the Constitution says that that they have to prove that you're innocent, you are gonna be in jail first, and then you kind of prove yourself innocent with time, but you're still in jail. Like we don't. That is not right. You have the right to defend yourself. That is what we're talking about here. So um okay, here there's another one here, and chapter they call it title 6, homeless security. That's chapter there talks about the there's a clause there that protests can be tracked and criminalized. They word it in a different way. It includes surveillance and infrastructure funding. You guys can find that on Title 6. Um, there's also there um, all the other cuts, to services for veterans. Like I said, Medicaid, SNAP, and all of those services that are important for people that have, they work. And sometimes what I have seen happen throughout time is that people, you know you go through up and downs in life. You may lose your job, and you may not be able to, to afford to pay for your own health care, or you're disabled and you can only, work part-time and stuff like that, and you cannot afford, health care. And a lot of people are on Medicaid that are not, they have jobs. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how you can find the documents and any other. And I think that if we get to, let me see here. I think we can go on. Here we go. So you go to congress.gov, congress.gov. And Sammy, I think that this is, in a way, it's good for this to happen because we have to wake up as voters in general, and
Mhm.
and just be informed. So when you guys go to congress.gov, you will see like a drop down menu on,
Mhm.
on the left. So you're going
Mhm.
to choose legislation, and then you're gonna search for the big beautiful bill or any bill that is being introduced. That way you're not getting like bits and pieces from the media or whatever they want, or however they want to spin it or whatever. You have like the truth from the direct source, right? um, and you will see that it was introduced on the bottom when they had the meeting, uh, who sponsored it. You can click on the roll calls. You can see that it was passed by the House, and this summer they're working on passing it by the Senate. So we still have an opportunity to fight this bill. Um, and you know, this will make the Trump's tax plan permanent, which will have the highest uh, taxes on people that earn less than $300,000. Why won't you just tax the rich and get it over with? No, we have to go through all these hoops and fight for everything, you know. So then when you go down and after you find the bill, all right, then you're gonna go ahead and you'll have a copy of it, and you'll see the titles, and I gave you already like a few of the things that are gonna be there already. um and I gave you a few of those titles earlier, where to find things. And because this bill is so massive, you can upload the document and have ChatGPT like do a chart for you to kind of like digest it better. And you can tell it like, okay, help me find whatever your cost is, because I know everyone has different types of costs. You know, people care
Yeah,
about.
like you could say, like, for example, how does this bill, the big beautiful bill, affect veterans, right?
Correct.
And keep it open, because then it'll give you the positive and the negatives, right?
Correct.
Or you could say in a negative way or in a positive way, so that way you could be very specific. And then you say, how does it affect Social Security in a positive way and in a
Yeah, it's like
negative way,
the pros and
right?
cons chart. You can do a pros and cons chart, and you can also
Exactly.
ask it to identify the page number or the chapter. So that way,
You can read it yourself
correct. You
too,
can read it
right?
yourself. You can reference the
Yes.
chapter and the page number based on your cause. So if your cause, like Sammy says,
Mhm.
is the Veterans Affairs, then you focus on that, right? If your cause is women's
Mhm.
rights, then you focus on that. If your cause is immigration, which is like that's what my focus is, immigration. So then you're focus on that, okay? And then look at that. You can
Mhm.
also listen to the bill via audio while you drive to your job. So if you don't
Yeah.
want to read it,
Yeah.
but you're like curious and you don't mind clicking on the listening button, then you can listen to it as you are driving to work and things like
Right.
that. And it'll probably take a few days driving to work
Yeah.
to go through it, but I think that the faster solution will be to help have ChatGPT kind of like compress it based on your cause and give you the chapters and the page
Or
number.
you can ask Papote at ChatGPT too, right? And you can say, hey, this paragraph that reads like this, right? Could you please explain it to me at a 8th grade level? I've done that, right?
Yes, yes, yes. You
So
can do
that
that and it'll break
way,
it down for you.
break it down for me in a manner that I can explain it to my teenage children, right?
Yes,
And
yes,
that way it'll give you, and so then technology in this case, right, is our friend,
yes,
because we can, and I think that's part of the issue too, also, that as we're becoming more ethnically diverse and we also have access to technology, it's democratized, right, that we have power in our hands. And thank the Lord that that's the big difference between now, right, and the 1930s and 40s, right? when Hitler was around. And so then the dissemination of information was in the hand of just a few people. And
Correct.
the
Yes.
sources to verify and everything took a longer time to figure out, right?
Yes.
Now we get information in 2 seconds flat, and we can have the opportunity to discern and have a better understanding, so that way we can react to it quicker. And in the case of the big beautiful bill, which is a ridiculous name, by the way, but anyway, it's like, this is so, I
I
can't
know.
even.
I
But
know.
anyway, okay, right? We have an opportunity to
Yeah.
better understand it, to really look at its parts, right? Like, pick a cause, pick your area.
I have
Well,
literally, yes. You
how does it
literally,
impact you? How does it impact you? Because clearly people don't react until it's at your freaking door, right?
Mhm.
So then if it's immigration because your neighbors or your workers are being deported, right? Well, then look for the immigration part. If it's Social Security because you have older parents that depend on Social Security to live with dignity because they paid into it, they
Yes.
earned it,
It's
and
their
it's their
money.
freaking
Yeah.
money, right? Then do that. If it's veterans because you come from a family of veterans, or you lost a loved one, right? And veterans rights is your cause, whatever it is, right? If it's healthcare, if it's access to healthcare, to quality healthcare, so then do that. If it's just pick
Yes.
your topic
It,
and better
yes.
understand that,
That's why it
right?
has
Because
the word there big, because it literally is like a change in government completely. Like
yes, and it's
for the
on
top 1%,
purpose,
really.
right? Because it can be very overwhelming, but I guarantee you one thing: whatever the topic you pick, okay, it's not to the favor of us, the taxpayer. It's not
Mhm.
to the favor, it's not to our benefit. Pick any topic, okay? Any topic in the big beautiful bill, and it's definitely to improve, right, the wealth, and exponentially grow the wealth of those that are already billionaires and don't need any help, and that don't pay taxes, as like we do, at the level that we do, when you compare apples to apples. And
Correct.
so
Yeah.
anyway, I'll get off
So
my
then
soapbox.
after you do that, after you pick your cause, the one that you're passionate about, then what you're gonna do is you're gonna go ahead, pick your topic and your cause and your passion, what made you go to the protest, right? And then you're gonna go ahead and download this app called Five Calls. That's the icon on the lower right hand corner. That's the icon of the app. You
I'm gonna do that
download,
now.
yeah, download that app, because that way you don't have to go crazy and lose yourself and get frustrated online
Mira,
trying to look for your representative. So
mira,
right
I'm gonna
now,
do that right now. Espérate. 5 calls. Espérate.
so well, okay.
You see,
So well,
I'm
yeah.
learning
So
something. I'm
yeah.
learning something right now.
So
Espérate.
I need you guys to like really share all of this with your friends and family. That way we are active and we're informed and we're going directly to the source. We're not like going crazy and getting all stressed out looking at, social media or any type of media, TV, radio, whatever, however you consume it. You actually have the direct source and you can do something about it. Okay. So you go ahead and download that. And then when you download and have your information, you're going to have, and let me see here. That is the second one, I think is, let me see. I have to find, here we go. This is the right slide. So how does it work? Okay. So it will pull up a list of representatives after you add like the your location. So you add your location. Is it this one? No. Let me see.
I'm
Where
doing
is
it right now. Demand the resignation of Kristi Noem as Secretary of DHS. Yes.
they
Espérate.
have a lot of different things.
Espérate.
Mhm.
Espérate. See your script to Maxwell Frost, Rick Scott, and Ashley. Those are my senators.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's it. Okay, wait a second. Here you go. I know Maxwell Frost, so wait.
Yeah, so it actually has a script that you can edit. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna download the app, open the app, put in
And then you mark
your
the number, you call and read the script.
correct, and you can edit it and make it your own.
No, but it's easy. Why would I want to do more work? Okay, this is perfect. Thank you, Sunnyvale. I'm gonna spend. Oh my God, this is epic. Thank you. I'm gonna do this
Yes,
every day.
very, very easy. So and you can keep track of your calls, and
Yeah,
they pay attention to those things. They pay attention to how many
of
calls
course they do.
they
Totally.
receive and things like that. So make sure that you share that
Oh my goodness,
with
this is like
everyone
a
that you
game
know.
changer. We need to do a campaign on this, Nina.
Yes.
I'm gonna post this on Facebook. We need to do I'm gonna do a carousel ad to post.
Yes.
Yes,
So
explaining how
yeah,
this
because
works.
when you tell people like, oh, your senators and your representatives, like, how, where do I go, what do I do? Some people are shy, they don't know what to say, but this app tells you, okay, it lists the topics for you, and which ones you care about, whether. And sometimes the topics that they list, there are in whatever they're working on in Congress.
Yeah, but they have the big beautiful bill right there. So that's
Yes.
the one we need to focus on right now.
Yes. So
That's
then
the
if
one.
yes, so you click on the big beautiful bill, and
Uh-huh.
then you state your what you care about. Of course, you're gonna do your little homework that we gave you, how to
Yes.
find
Defend
it, how to
Medicare.
download it,
Yes.
right? So, and then you're gonna go ahead and put your zip code. It will display your representatives, and it's just a matter of like clicking their numbers and reading the script.
And that's
Okay,
it. That's
and
awesome.
that is it. So I hope that you guys just keep yourself calm, and like Sammy said, this is a different time. We have information in our hands, and
Mm-hmm.
back then, dictatorships rose very fast because, like Sammy said, they had the control of information.
Mm-hmm.
So our job is to kind of like separate the trash and get quality information. And
Yes.
so next, I'm trying to organize, like, I'm gonna have a history professor and a technology expert next week or so. I've been working on this for like 2 months because I want to teach people on how to find correct information. And you do research all the time,
Yeah.
so you
Yeah.
know where to find stuff. But I'm gonna do something quick with them, so that way we understand, and can see, if the information is not good and why, and then where you can find reliable. That's the key word.
Mm-hmm.
Reliable information that we can use, because that's why I like numbers and stats and things like that. When the administration exploits like criminality that were criminals, and then you see the stats and the numbers that less than 1% of immigrants commit a crime, there's nothing to talk about. Like, the
Mm-hmm.
numbers are right there. It's
Mm-hmm.
this small fraction is being manipulated and used as a political weapon, for you to believe a narrative that is not even true statistically. So I am going to have a professor and an IT person explaining a lot of different things to you
Mm-hmm.
guys. Well, so we're going to say goodbye unless Sammy wants to close with some additional words before we go.
Well, all I want to say is just be involved, right? Um, be curious, and also for the sake of our future and our democracy, make sure that you vote and you call your senators and your congresspeople, and that you also instill in your children the importance of showing up for each other and worrying
Yeah.
about each other and being compassionate towards each other, and exercising kindness, despite what the law, the rules are. Yes, do people have to follow, right, the rules? Absolutely. No one's saying, the opposite. It's just the way that this is being handled is cruel. And to
Cruel
any
and
human
chaotic.
being,
Mhm.
any person that has an ounce of humanity can see that, right? Can see that. And so then I don't know. I want my children. Everybody has to deal with their own, right? But I want my children to be compassionate towards other human beings, right? And not participate in anything that would hurt other people unnecessarily, right? There's no reason, and I worry. I worry about these military actions, I worry about my son. I don't want him, I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot to take in. And I know he wouldn't want to participate, but this is what happens when you have authoritarian, governments. It takes it there,
Mhm.
and so then we're just trying with, I'm pleading with people, to see what's in front of you and just dig a little deeper to better understand what's going on and the why it's happening, and then
Mhm.
make your decision, right?
Yeah,
But
always there's always a why, and there's always two sides to the story.
yes, exactly. And anyway, I'm concerned, and I just hope people pause for a moment. Just pause, and and invest a little time in just better understanding, the why all of this is happening and what the consequences can be and will be, right? If you don't participate and exercise, your vote and your constitutional rights.
Yes, perfect. And I wanted to also, um, for anyone that is a believer of Jesus Christ and say that they're a Christian and things like that, the way that you can discern these things, it's summarized in two things. The whole Bible can be summarized in two things. I had the the opportunity, to immerse in it because it was a calling of my heart, is to love God with all your heart, your mind, and your soul, and your understanding, and to love your neighbor as yourself. Those two principles, if you go to a church or um, you see an organization or anything that does not abide but by those two principles, is a sect, and it is not a sound Christian doctrine. Okay, so I hope that you love your neighbor because it says it so many times. Despite whatever happens in history, we have seen all these persecutions, but the church has always remained itself. Not always, because we've seen, the Crusades and all
Mm,
that kind of stuff. The Crusades are a distortion. Again, it's a distortion of the Word of God to manipulate, to control, to gain power. Okay, so if you guide yourself by loving God and loving others, then you don't have anything to worry about, and just guide yourself through those principles, and you're gonna be all right. Alrighty then. Thank you so
thank
much,
you.
everyone. I
Thank
didn't
you,
have time
Samibel.
to read any comments, so we will just put all your comments later, and Sammy and I will will respond. I hope
Yes.
everyone have a really good night. Thank you so much, and I'll probably see you guys next week again. All right.